Going on, everybody? Josh here, and welcome back to your Monday Night Raw post-show review, and also your Bound for Glory post-show review as well, or I guess Monday morning Raw as well, because 8 a.m. in the morning. And for TikTok, I'm live on TikTok right now. They know this. I just told them this. I did not wake up in time for Monday Night Raw, so I had to catch it afterwards. And unfortunately, my Twitter notifications were not off, so it was spoiled for me what happened at the end of this episode on Monday Night Raw. And I was a bit bummed down that it got spoiled for me, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put myself in the mindset that it was AI until I see with my own eyes. And then I did see with my own eyes, and we're gonna get into all of that here. My thing keeps turning off right now, and it's really irritating. But we're gonna get into Monday Night Raw because that is the freshest thing in our minds, and then afterwards we'll get into TNA Bound for Glory, which I also have a lot of opinions on as well. But let's get straight into Monday Night Raw. Actually, before that, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that come to the channel. Subscribe to the Kayfabe Central Ko-Fi page. It's $5 minimum to subscribe to the exclusive wrestling content tier. Thank you, Phoebe, for the rose. I appreciate that a lot. Check out the Kayfabe Central website. I noticed it's been getting a lot more traction since I put it over about my coverage posts. I genuinely believe I am one of the fastest coverage websites right now. So yeah, go ahead. If you ever miss an episode of Raw, NXT, SmackDown, Dynamite, head over to the Kayfabe Central website and check out the live coverage posts that I do. I didn't do one for Monday Night Raw today. Thank you, Phoebe, for the heart me. I appreciate that a lot. I didn't do one for Monday Night Raw today, but yeah, that's because I didn't wake up on time. First fan, that's wild. Yeah, the last Heart Me I got was, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. So thank you, Phoebe. First fan. But yeah, let's get into Monday Night Raw. We kicked the night off with Seth Rollins coming out alongside the rest of the division, Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. He pretty much said that he boasted about his win over Cody Rhodes, that he's the crown jewel champion. He came out with that crown jewel championship. Don't expect that to be a consistent thing with Seth Rollins, especially and even with Stephanie Vaquer, don't expect that to be a usual thing. I can't. Did Vaquer come out with the Crown Jewel Championship? Um, I can't remember if she did or not. I believe she did. Um, but don't expect that to be a regular thing. She did, okay. Um, because they have the ring, don't. They usually don't come out with the title consistently because it's also a big ass title. Imagine traveling with that consistently. So yeah, they're probably not going to be traveling with that, especially because it's not something they defend. Um, it's just it's just the championship. It's a label, right? But yeah, Seth Rollins came out and he said something very important here in this promo that is going to be even more important as to what happened later on in the night. He talked about that he didn't need anybody. He can do it all on his own because he beat Cody Rhodes on his own. He doesn't need help from anybody with anyone. And he said specifically he doesn't need Bronson Reed, he doesn't need Braun Breaker, and he doesn't need Paul Heyman. And there was the seeds planted right there. And that was very interesting. That they went that route, that he's like, I don't need these guys. But and you can see the faces on Braun Breaker, especially. Bronson Reed has a very like unreadable face. He just keeps the same mean mug the entire time, so you can't really read it. But I look at Braun Breaker's expressions a lot and his facial expressions because a lot of the time you can tell what he's thinking and what's going through his mind. And you can see in this segment, he was like, he doesn't need us. Oh, okay, sure. Um, so that was that. Nothing else happened there. They cut their promo, they left. Backstage, Rusev told Penta that Adam Pearce told him that he gets to face the winner of the match tonight between Dominic Mysterio defending his title, his IC title against Penta. Considering she already had has one brass belt. She doesn't need two. Yeah. Um, so yeah, Rusev is next in line between who wins between Penta and Dominic Mysterio. We then went into that match, and of course, Dominic Mysterio pulled out some shenanigans and beats Penta to retain the title. Very, very innovative here. And I'm loving the innovative finishes that Dominic Mysterio is coming up with, or whoever is coming up with these, because how this went down is Dominic Mysterio grabbed the title. He grabbed the hammer that they used to ring the bell, and while the ref's back was turned, he hit Penta in the knee actually with the hammer, then put the hammer into his boot and then hit the 619 followed by the frog splash and retained the title. Um yeah, very innovative stuff here from Dominic Mysterio. And I gotta say I love Dominic Mysterio right now. I think he's doing a phenomenal job right now as Intercontinental Champion. But yeah, in terms of the match itself, solid match. Pretty solid match. They put on a good showing, good way to kick off the night. The crowd loved it. The crowd loved everything on this show. They loved the entire weekend. Australia was such a good crowd. I think honestly, like I'm gonna say probably a better crowd than France just because I couldn't stand the Sacramento chants at all. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. Australia knew when to cheer. They knew when to shut up. Um and they knew who to boo. They also love Bronson Reed, of course, because he is from Australia. I don't know if the cheers are going to translate to the American audience. That's going to be it's going to be very interesting to see when they go back to America in Sacramento for next week's Monday Night Raw episode. Sacramento, yeah, it's so it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I get that they're having fun, but it's no. CM Punk interrupted LA Knight's promo with Jackie Redmond backstage, and they pretty much just went back and forth. And like, no, I'm gonna win tonight. I'm gonna win tonight. That stuff. What did you think about Cena versus Styles match at Crown Jewel? A masterpiece, absolute masterpiece. I loved everything about it. Yeah, I did the Crown Jewel post show on the YouTube channel as well. But yeah, I loved that match. It was my favorite match of the night, and it could end up being like on the WWE side of things, especially my match of the year. I think Crown Jewel as a whole was a really good pay-per-view and is probably going to end up being my favorite pay-per-view of the year. So there you go. Everyone thinks that Josh only has negative things to say. No, I loved Crown Jewel. Um, but yeah, after that, Asuka was with Kairi Sane backstage, and Kairi Sane was showing her the bruising on her head, which looked like a nasty bruise, by the way, on her forehead when she sacrificed herself for Asuka at Crown Jewel. Um, and Asuka slapped the shit out of her. Um, and Oscar was like, I don't care. You're gonna face Rhea Ripley tonight. Yeah, the only thing I'm learning from this is that Oscar is a really shitty friend, is a really bad friend. So I still don't know how I feel about this promo. I like in terms of the match qualities that's coming out of this, they've been pretty good. And we're gonna get into that because Kairi Sane and Rhea Ripley then went one-on-one after that. Rhea Ripley won. Um, Good match. Good match between Rhea and Kairi. Kairi Sane's old theme song came back. So I found that pretty cool because I love Kairi Sane. I loved her theme song. So I'm glad to see her old theme song back as well. Me and Rue talked about on the Kayfabe Central podcast about Superstars' old theme songs coming back, which I find really cool. But yeah, Rhea Ripley and Kairi Sane had a good match. After the match, Rhea tried putting Asuka through a table, but Kairi Sane made the save with a kendo stick. And then Asuka hit a DDT on Rhea Ripley on the table. Yeah, this was a very specific thing to think about, but I was like, I can't see Asuka doing a full-on table spot where the table breaks. For some reason, I couldn't see that happening. she doesn't give me the vibe that she's gonna go through a table. Um, and lo and behold, the table did not break. It was just a DDT on the reinforced announce table that only breaks when they want it to break. Um, but yeah. So fun match there between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Not Io Sky, Kairi Sane. Io Sky was ringside with Rhea Ripley. There, who also got involved and got taken out. Backstage, Jimmy Uso and Jay Uso were talking again. A little bit of disagreements once again, between them, and Jay was like, I need to get my World Heavyweight Championship back. I need to focus. I can't be helping you with the vision. And Jimmy pretty much said, you know what, I'm tired of this. You know what, you do you, I will do me. Um, and Jimmy Uso went one-on-one with Bronson Reed, and where Bronson Reed won very convincingly, and he put a beating on Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso was not 100%, and I actually really like this because Jimmy is hurt. He shouldn't be able to put up that big of a fight against someone like Bronson Reed, who's coming off a win against the OTC Roman Reigns. So I liked this. I like that Bronson Reed just put down Jimmy Uso. After the match, Braun Breaker came out and speared Jimmy Uso twice. He went for a spear through the barricade, but Jey Uso then came out for the save. And Jey Uso ran off the vision, and that was that. He made the save for Jimmy Uso, but then another disagreement happened between the Usos, where Jay was like, "Man, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing it." So I honestly thought Jay wasn't gonna make the save. I thought he wasn't gonna make the save, and he was just gonna let Jimmy Uso get beat up. But of course, he's got to save his brother. That's what brothers do. Um, After that, we had Bailey and Lyra Valkyria defeating the Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Um, this match was probably the weaker match of the night. I didn't really find anything um intriguing about this match, honestly, other than the end, where throughout the entire match, Bailey was this fun, loving person. Thank you for the share, Jake. Bailey was the fun-loving person, almost like the hugger gimmick she was. And Lyra Valkyria decided to slap Bailey, and it kind of just triggered this other side of Bailey, and she went for a suicide dive on the Judgment Day. Bailey just cleared house and won them the match. I weirdly, very weirdly like this. I don't know why I like this. I don't know why. I found it really funny that Lyra just slapped the shit out of Bailey, and Bailey was like, "Okay, I'm locked in now." Like, I think this can actually really work. I think this tag team can really work, and I think we may be heading for Lyra Valkyrie and Bailey versus Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair sometime down the line. And if Charlotte and Alexa hold those tag titles until WrestleMania, I can see that being the WrestleMania match for the women's tag titles. Um, so yeah, I kind of like this. And honestly, I hope they keep going with this because at first I was like, this is the same thing every week. It's Bailey's cool with Lyra, Bailey's not cool with Lyra. But this was interesting. I kind of like this. Um, I'm not answering that. I need to get mods in here so people can block people and ban people. But yeah, Braun Breaker, not Braun Breaker. My notes are all clamored together. So I'm just all over the place. But yeah, Bailey and Lyra defeated Raquel and Roxanne. Backstage, Seth Rollins was talking to Paul Heyman that the vision is the future. Once again, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed come in, and he tells them he's proud of them, and this is only the beginning, and we have yet to reach the mountaintop. Um, and no one's going to be able to knock him off the mountaintop. Keynote here. Keynote. Seth Rollins said nobody is going to be able to knock him off the mountaintop, not the vision. He didn't mention the vision. He didn't say no one's going to be able to knock us off the mountaintop. He said me. So a very I guess you could say, selfish Seth Rollins on this episode of Monday Night Raw, and we'll talk about it. It came back to bite him later on in the night. We had another backstage segment with Dominic Mysterio interrupting a conversation between Adam Pearce and AJ Styles. Um, Dominic Mysterio was not happy that he has to face Rusev next week now for the Intercontinental Championship, and he was like, I'm I'm the hardest working champion on Monday Night Raw. I'm the only one defending my title. And Adam Pearce and AJ were like, you know what? He's right. Finn Balor and JD McDonough should face AJ Styles and Dragon Lee next week for the tag titles. And Dominic Mysterio has the honor of breaking that news to JD and Finn. So the um the tension between Dominic Mysterio and the Judgment Day continues. Finn Balor and JD were not on this episode of Monday Night Raw. Um, I don't know. They may not even be in Australia because I don't think we saw them the entire weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So very interesting there that Balor and JD weren't here. But they're for sure going to be on an episode of Raw next week where they have to defend the titles. I can honestly see a world in where AJ Styles and Dragon Lee win those tag titles. I can see maybe Dominic Mysterio trying to help the Judgment Day and it costs them the tag team championships. Um, don't know if that's something I necessarily want to see. I'd rather it be on an actual tag team. I think Dragon Lee should focus on the Mega Championship that Dom is holding. I think AJ Styles can be doing something a lot better. We have a few more months, right? The guy's hanging up the boots in 2026. So we need to capitalize on as much AJ Styles matches as we can. So that was the backstage segment between Dom, AJ, and Adam Pearce. After that, we then had an interview with Stephanie Vaquer and Jackie Redmond. A different interview. This one wasn't backstage. This was on the stage of Monday Night Raw. This kind of like because the only time like they rarely do interviews like this. And the only other promotion that really does something like this is AEW. They do the stage interviews, but WWE hasn't done them in a while. So I found this pretty cool. That they, switched it up a little bit. Stephanie Vaquer was then interrupted by Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Roxanne got in Stephanie's face and said, I was the last person to beat Io Sky. I should have been at WrestlePalooza. I should be Women's World Champion right now. And honestly, good points from Roxanne Perez. Those are really good points from Roxanne Perez. If you're going to confront the champion, you got to come with the receipts. And she did just that. And Stephanie Vaquer says, I don't care who you've beaten. If you want to do something, then do something about it. And Roxanne says, I'm going to do it on my time, not yours. But I will be here. Something along those lines. And this is interesting. I didn't expect Roxanne Perez to be in this position. And I don't think that she's going to take that title off of Stephanie Vaquer at the moment, unless like the next episodes of Raw or something make me think otherwise. As of right now, there's no reason Stephanie Vaquer should be losing that Women's World Championship. But I think it's really cool that Roxanne Perez is being put in this position. I had written an article that Stephanie Vaquer's next opponent may be Asuka, but it seems like they're continuing that feud with her and Kyrie and Rhea and Io. I don't know what more there is to do with that feud. I think Asuka challenging Stephanie Vaquer would have been a good option because Asuka has a win over Stephanie Vaquer already. So that in itself is a better argument than I've beaten Io Sky, therefore I should be Women's World Champion. Asuka has a direct win over the current Women's World Champion. So I think it's very soon we can see Asuka stepping up to Stephanie Vaquer once that feud is done with the Kabuki Warriors, Rhea and Io. I think it would have made sense to put Asuka in that position, and that way you give Stephanie Vaquer another good win. But then again, they could be waiting a little while for that feud. So, but I am fairly confident that they are going to go that route eventually with Stephanie Vaquer and Asuka. Um, After that, we then had the World Heavyweight Championship number one contenders triple threat match. This here is where a lot of things got interesting. It was between CM Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. CM Punk came out the victorious one. I cannot remember who he pinned, but he won by pinfall. And yeah, uh, CM Punk. There's so many names on my screen right now, so my mind is clustered because a lot happened, guys. A lot happened after this match. So after this match, um, the Vision came out. Seth Rollins came out with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman. Braun Breaker sprinted down to the ring, took out Jey Uso with a nasty spear, then took out LA Knight with another nasty spear. They then surrounded the ring. They took out CM Punk, hit him with the spear, hit him with the tsunami. The Vision is standing tall. The credits go up on the screen. It looks like Raw is about to go off the air until Braun Breaker spears Seth Rollins. Um, I did not expect this. I did not expect this. And despite this being spoiled for me before I actually watched Monday Night Raw, still seeing it was shocking because I was like, wow. I didn't expect them to pull the trigger this early on the Vision turn. We knew it was going to happen eventually, but we didn't think it would be this quick. It's only been 6 months. It's only been 6 months since the Vision has formed. And Braun Breaker spears Seth Rollins. He then goes to Bronson Reed, who looks conflicted. And Braun tells him, he's like, you're either with him or you're with me. Bronson makes up his mind, drags Seth to the center of the ring, hits Seth with a tsunami. And the Vision stand tall, or Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed stand tall with Paul Heyman, who I can't tell if he was part of this because he made the face at the end where he looked like he did join forces with Bronson and Braun. But before that, when Braun attacked him, he looked shocked. He looked like he didn't expect this. He didn't see this coming. And so I don't know where Paul Heyman stands. Yeah, this is another guy you can't read that very well because you never know. So is Paul Heyman behind this? That is the big question as well. Is Paul Heyman aligning himself with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and turning his back on Seth Rollins? Now, I mentioned earlier that I have news regarding Seth Rollins, and a lot of you have heard the news already. That throughout the weekend in Australia, he was walking around with an arm sling. Now, part of me doesn't want to believe this because of what Seth Rollins pulled this year with the knee injury and fooled us all. However, this was not something that was broadcasted on TV. This was something we didn't know he was dealing with. He was walking around with a sling. He had that amazing match against Cody Rhodes, and despite all the craziness that he did in that match, he was hurt. So I'm very intrigued as to where this is going to go. If Seth Rollins is going to be out for a number of time, and if he is, then I can see this being a case of Paul Heyman finds a way to get that World Heavyweight Championship on Braun Breaker. And then we get Braun Breaker versus CM Punk. Seth Rollins eventually returns. We get Braun versus Seth. I think that's what they could be setting up. And it honestly depends how serious this injury is for Seth, how severe it is, if he's going to miss WrestleMania, if this is just a couple months thing and he needs the time off. Um, I was telling one of my friends earlier after I watched Monday Night Raw is we know how great Seth Rollins is, and I appreciate everything the guy does in the ring, everything he does for professional wrestling. But man, you don't need to. My phone's ringing. You don't need to do all this craziness. We know what Seth Rollins can do in that ring. We didn't need the coast to coast headbutt. As cool as it was, we didn't need it. And I appreciate it. We didn't need the attempts of the Phoenix Splash. All this craziness that he did, like as much as we appreciate it as fans, we know what Seth Rollins can do, and we also know his history with injuries, right? We know that he can get hurt pretty easily. So I am perfectly fine with Seth Rollins being more careful in that ring because even when he doesn't do a whole bunch of crazy spots, he is still really good and one of the best in there. So I feel really bad for the guy. He gave us a good show at Crown Jewel, but he may be paying the price for it. Um, yeah, man. I hope Seth gets better fast. It really sucks that he keeps dealing with these injuries. So yeah, that's really unfortunate. But that was Monday Night Raw. A pretty solid episode of Monday Night Raw. And honestly, like one of the better ones they have done in I'd say like a few weeks, honestly, or months even. The definitely a good episode of Monday Night Raw. I felt like a lot of these stories progressed, and we have something to look forward to going to next week's episode of Monday Night Raw. But with that being said, we are going to move on to TNA Bound for Glory that went down last night. Um, Bound for Glory was interesting. Do you think TN that AJ Styles would have one more match in TNA before he retires? I think he should. I think he definitely should. Um, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a match between AJ and Leon Slater. I think that would be a really good match. Um, I think AJ Styles and Moose would be a good match as well. There's a lot of things that he can do in TNA still. That you just have some banger matches, and I'd be totally okay with it. Thank you for the likes, wrestling or wow, wrestling aura. Thank you, or Snow. Yeah, it's a shirt I've had for a while. Thank you guys for the taps. But yeah, let's get into TNA Bound for Glory. So the pre-show we had the Hall of Fame induction of the beautiful people and Mickie James. I only turned it on when Mickie James was giving her speech, and it was a really nice speech. It was a really heartfelt speech. And I think Mickie James deserves everything. She deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. She deserves the TNA Hall of Fame. Mickie James is one of my favorite women's wrestlers of all time, if not my number one favorite women's wrestler of all time. Um, yeah, well deserved, and I'm so glad to see her getting the respect and the flowers that she deserves. So, shout out to Mickie James. We then had the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship match on the pre-show. The Inspiration defeated the Elegance Brand to retain the TNA Knockouts Tag Team titles. Um, it was a fine match. They were on a time limit because it was almost time for the main card. I didn't expect a lot from this match. I expected the Inspiration to retain because they just won those tag titles. So it was fine for a pre-show match. That's really all I have to say about that. Thank you, Wrestling Aura. Thank you. We then moved on to the main card. We kicked it off with the TNA International Championship match. Steve Maclin defeated Frankie Kazarian to win back the TNA International Championship. What the hell was the point in putting it on Frankie Kazarian for? I don't understand. If you were gonna take it off him right away, what was the point? And like for anyone that's like, maybe Frankie was gonna take time off, not not the case because I'm gonna get into what happened on later on in the night. Um, but yeah, I don't understand. The match itself was good. I think the match itself was fine. Um, they're two great wrestlers in there, and they put on a good show. But in terms of the outcome, I don't understand it. I don't understand why you took it off Steve Maclin just to put it back on him right away. Um, we then moved on to Tessa Blanchard defeating Gia Miller by pinfall by using a roll of quarters and then hitting her finisher to win. Um, from the start, I had no interest in this match. Gia Miller looked really good coming out. In the ring was a different story. Um, she did not look good in the ring. When she came out, I was like, okay, this is a different Gia Miller. She looks good. But then the bell rang and it was exactly what I expected. It was not good. Not good at all. I had no interest in this match. I didn't care about it. Um, yeah. Tessa Blanchard defeats Gia Miller. I have honestly nothing else to say about this match other than I think it was a waste of time. This is your biggest show of the year, and this is what you're giving us: Gia Miller versus Tessa Blanchard. I don't even think Tessa Blanchard should have been booked for the card. I honestly don't know how Tessa Blanchard is still an employee of TNA Wrestling. I don't understand that. And I am saying that as an affiliate of TNA Wrestling. I don't understand how she still has a job. She obviously, like, even when she returned to TNA, nobody cared. Nobody cared because she has burned every bridge. She is an open racist. There's no reason that Tessa Blanchard should have a job at TNA right now. There's no reason at all. But nonetheless, she beats Gia Miller by using a roll of quarters. We then moved on to the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. This has to be the most TNA booking I've ever seen. This was god awful, terrible. There was nothing good about this. Nothing. And the outcome was even worse. I was like, okay, it's down to, Nick Nemeth, Cardona, Kazarian, and Ryan Nemeth. I'm like, okay, it's probably going to be Cardona or Nick Nemeth to come out with the win here. Um, and Actually, no, Kazarian was outside of the ring the entire time. He tried to pull a fast one. Um, so it comes down to Nick Nemeth and Cardona. Nick Nemeth throws out Cardona. Frankie Kazarian then comes in. Nick Nemeth and Frankie battle it out. They then have a spot where they both roll up each other. Both of their shoulders are down. There's two referees in the ring because there was a ref bump earlier. They both count to three, and one ref thinks Frankie Kazarian won. One ref thinks Nick Nemeth won. The I didn't know who was gonna win this match because I didn't fully know who was gonna be in this. There was no NXT talent, by the way, in this match, which I found pretty interesting. Um, but the worst possible outcome happened. We had Santino Marella come out, and he said, for the first time ever in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet history, we will have a double winner. Instead of restarting the match, fuck restarting the match. We're going to have a double winner. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I honestly don't. And I this was just bad. And there could be some funny things that come out of this, like Nick Nemeth and Frankie Kazarian becoming a tag team and cashing in together on the TNA tag team titles on the Hardys. But then again, that leaves Ryan Nemeth alone. That doesn't make any sense, right? This could have been so much better in so many different ways. I feel like any other outcome would have been better than what happened here. Yeah, this was not good. Um, we then went on to the TNA Knockouts Championship match, Kelani Jordan versus Indy Hartwell. A lot of us, including myself, was under the impression that Indy Hartwell was going to win the title here. Not the case. Kelani Jordan beats Indy Hartwell to retain the TNA Knockouts Championship. I I don't know why. I really don't know why. I don't understand why we wasted all of this time to build Indy Hartwell up and make her seem like a threat to that Knockouts Championship only for her to lose. Because now where does Indy Hartwell go? Now what do we do with Indy Hartwell? Right? We have Kelani Jordan, an NXT superstar, holding the Knockouts Championship still. Right? It's been 3 champions ago since a TNA superstar was holding that TNA Knockouts Championship. It should have been Indy Hartwell. I think this was a terrible decision to keep it on Kelani Jordan. And that is no disrespect to Kelani Jordan. I think Kelani Jordan is a fantastic wrestler. I think she has the utmost amount of potential. And this isn't on her at all. Her and Indy Hartwell had a solid match. This is the booking that I have an issue with. That Kelani Jordan is still a Knockouts champion. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Um, But yeah, it was the Knockouts Championship match. We then went on to the second half of the show, which was a lot better. We went on to the Hardcore War, probably my favorite match of the night, where it was the System and Order 4. I had picked Order 4 to win this match, but the System came out on top. We had cheese graters, we had thumbtacks, we had some nasty bumps. This was brutal, and I loved everything about it. This was so, so good. And this is exactly what we needed um after a shitty first half of the show. Exactly what we needed. So these guys stepped up. They did really good. I still think Order 4 should have won this match. I don't think the System needed it. A lot of matches apart from the last two felt Russia Bound for Glory. Yeah, I agree. Um, I don't think the System needed this win. I really don't think they did. Order 4 is supposed to be the next big thing, the next big faction of TNA wrestling, the next big heel faction. And I understand they wanted the babyface to go over and they want the crowd to be happy. But it seems to me that TNA is just not thinking about after Bound for Glory. It seems like this is just like the end all for them, right? You got to think about afterwards because now what does Order 4 do? They just feuded with the other biggest faction in TNA wrestling and came up short. And this is supposed to be your faction that you're pushing to the top. By the way, I apologize to Agent Zero for doubting you because that guy, I did not think he could do some of the things he did in that match. Um, because I hadn't really seen him wrestle properly until Bound for Glory. So shout out to Agent Zero. He did his thing in that match. He looked really, really good. Which is another reason I feel like Order 4 should have won. They should have won that match. Factions and TNA have a complicated history. I know. I know. They have never, never had good endings with factions. Yeah, it's not good. We then had the tables match for the no, I did I skip a match? I skipped a match. I didn't write down um Leon and Javon. Leon and Javon went on after the Hardcore War, if I'm not mistaken, right? Um, we'll talk about that match anyway. We had the X Division Championship match, Leon Slater taking on Javon Evans. Um, so um knockouts, knockouts. Um, no, the knockouts championship match was early. I already talked about that. I believe it was Leon and Javon that went on after the Hardcore War. Because the tables match was the co-main event of the evening. Um, so Javon and Leon have a match. They have a pretty good match, as expected. It started off a little bit slow, but they still had a good match. They had some pretty good spots in here, and this is Javon Evans and Leon Slater. They're gonna have good spots. It was a good match until they have this kayfabe time limit of 20 minutes, and they announced that the time limit expires. Santino Morella comes out, and he's like, we're going to give this match 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. They go at it. They do some crazy spots. And then Dork State comes out. That was not a misinterpretation. That was not a miswording. Dork State comes out and attacks both Leon Slater and Javon Evans and ruins the match. They treated this pay-per-view like it was Victory Road instead of Bound for Glory. They treated this pay-per-view as if this was like a B-tier pay-per-view. This is your WrestleMania. And this is the finishes we're getting. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't understand why they went this route. I don't understand why Dark State is still a faction. I think that Darkseid just needs to go. They need to disband that group completely. It's retribution all over again. I haven't liked it from the start. I didn't like it when they were tag champs. I don't like it now. Darkseid needs to go because they just look like a bunch of dorks. That's what they are, a bunch of dorks. And don't get me wrong, I've said this before. The guys in Dark State, Saquon Sugars, he can go in the ring. He is so good in the ring. He has potential. Dion Lennox is a powerhouse. He can go in the ring. Osiris Griffin is another powerhouse. He can also go in the ring. He has a lot of potential. Cutler James, I don't really know. I don't know about him. But this this group is not working. It's not working at all. You have these guys win the tag team titles, only for them to drop it to the Hardys. And that's no shade at the Hardys. But if you really wanted to build Darkseid up, don't you think you would have had them retain over the Hardys? I know it's a winner take all match, but like that's again, that's WWE booking themselves into a corner because now you have the Hardys holding the TNA tag team titles and the NXT tag team titles. You have Darkseid completely out of the picture. It also made zero sense at all for Darkseid to go after Leon and Javon and not the Hardys and Team 3D. That didn't make any sense at all. If anything, I would have thought Darkseid would attack the Hardys and Team 3D and ruin that match. But not what happened. They ruined the match that everybody was most excited for. I don't give a shit if this is for heat. I don't give a shit if TNA was like, oh, we're going to get the heat for Darkseid after this. It's not heat if people want them gone. That's not heat. That's not what that is at all. I haven't seen a lot of positive feedback, if at all any positive feedback of Darkseid. Um, but yeah, that was the X Division Championship match, guys. We then went on to the tables match between the Hardys and Team 3D for the TNA and NXT Tag Team Championships. As expected, this match they had a couple of cool spots. Jeff Hardy doing a swanton off the ladder onto Devon, and then Bubba Ray or Bully Ray was, he turned around. They decided not to hit him with the chair, and they just, I guess gently put him through the table. And the Hardys retained both titles. I didn't expect this to be good, and this is literally what I expected from this match. It was what it was. And I'm curious as to who the Hardys are going to eventually drop those NXT tag titles to. I can see them holding on to the TNA tag titles for a little while longer. But I don't understand why they're holding the NXT tag team titles, to be honest with you. I don't know why. But then that was that. I really have nothing else to say about that match, honestly. But we then went on to Mike Santana versus Trick Williams for the TNA World Championship. Really good match. Really, really good stuff here. And I'm so glad this was a good match and it didn't have any bullshit or shenanigans. There was a lot of reports coming out that a certain someone in TNA wouldn't have been happy with the partnership with NXT had Trick Williams retained here. So that was also on my mind and a lot of other people's minds. Mike Santana pulls out the win and wins the TNA World Championship. He has a beautiful moment handing the title to his daughter. Yeah, all around great moment here. Great match. They both put on a show. You could really feel the passion and the story behind this match, which is really good. And that is what Bound for Glory should be about. Not the ending that we had for the X Division Championship match, not the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. This main event right here was Bound for Glory, and they delivered on this. Mike Santana wins. I imagine he's going to be holding that TNA World Championship for quite some time now. I don't see him dropping it anytime soon. So, yeah, really good match, really good stuff from both of them. But that was TNA Bound for Glory and your Monday Night Raw post-show review. Let me know what you guys thought about both shows, Raw and Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory, I honestly might put Bound for Glory as one of the worst pay-per-views of the year. I did not enjoy it. There were like two matches on this card that I genuinely enjoyed. That being the Hardcore War, and the main event, Mike Santana and Trick Williams. Other than that, stupid endings, stupid results. Um, some things that were not good matches at all. Um, yeah, that was that. And if you miss Bound for Glory, I would not be one to tell you to go back and watch it. You can catch up on things on like TikTok and Instagram and you'll be fine because it was not a good show. Monday Night Raw, on the other hand, is probably something you need to go back and watch because a lot happened on that episode of Raw today. So, I enjoyed Raw, and honestly, I may have enjoyed Raw just like a little bit more than a lot of Bound for Glory, which is saying a lot. That's saying a lot, and it's not a good thing. Because Raw was good. It wasn't great episode, but it was a good episode of Raw. One of the best they've done in a few months. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on both Raw and Bound for Glory in the comments below. Thank you everybody on TikTok for joining me for this episode of the Kayfabe Central Podcast. I will be back to not tomorrow, Wednesday for the AEW Dynamite post-show review. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And yeah, until then, make sure you guys subscribe, like, and comment, hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that come to the channel. And until then, I will see you guys on Wednesday for the Dynamite post-show review. Take it easy.